The ladies were a little disappointed in your performance tonight, Chuck. But you must get that a lot.
Good night, ladies.
Oh God, she got me. She got me.
Well, hello there, friends. Dylan and the Details, of course, here to bring you that much-needed reality check. Getting down to the brass tacks today on Dead Rising 2. I have a confession to make. I never played the base version of Dead Rising 2, as in, I literally only played it with Frank West. And although there are hella similarities, it's pretty much the same game, just with Frank West, pretty much. And the difference being, of course, Katie. You have to bring Katie, the Zombrex, so that's a little different in that version. And there was an unlimited mode where you could just fuck around the whole time. And I thought that was incredibly innovative, and that's the ultimate version of this game to me. But I wanted to discuss the differences I see here and how Capcom still had their thinking caps on, but the intro is hella underwhelming compared to the original. And I know a lot of people think this game is superior and, does the job better. And I will say they have improved several things. One of the first things I noticed, actually, was how much more realistic it felt, controlling Chuck rather than Frank. They did something to the user interface and the control that just felt kind of better. I must say, it did feel better. There are just a lot of things going on here that I really want to talk about.
My name's Chuck.
Chuck, our new protagonist. And it's not that I wanted Frank West to be the protagonist again. I think it's perfectly fine that we're moving on to something else.
Her name is Katie.
When I first knew that Katie was going to be an element in the game, I really was not on board because children in a zombie apocalypse are anchors, and you don't want an anchor when you're in an ocean of the dead.
Don't worry. I won't be long.
Chuck Greene riding away looking cool as fuck. Pretty interesting intro, but compared to the original, this is just not what it is. This is not Dead Rising yet. Right off the bat, I'm thinking, when are we going to see some zombies? And of course, the answer comes almost immediately. But it's in a different way than I would have expected. Las Vegas is now using zombies as a form of entertainment. And honestly, this is what happens when you get so far down the zombie timeline. Eventually, zombies are no longer a threat, and they're used to entertain people. Just like in Land of the Dead and The Walking Dead eventually, we'll see that on television as we've seen in the comics. But, of course, we got the standard asshole giving us a greeting, telling us basically, you're a piece of shit, blah, 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 talk your shit, blah, blah, blah. But actually, Chuck Greene's the fucking best one in this whole place. There's a reason a hardened vet is still around. Writing for Zombrex, writing for Katie, it's like, bro, that guy never had any chance. It's just bully bait. And it got me, too. Of course, when someone talks shit in a video game, I immediately want to alleviate the situation. Preferably with those chainsaws on that bicycle. So, the reason I felt so compelled to try talking about this intro is because it seems to have gone down the road of Saints Row. You know how Saints Row used to be like a GTA knockoff about gangsters and, selling drugs or whatever the hell? This kind of feels like they were going in that wacky direction, just totally silly, and that's what's so weird to me. Like, the feeling of playing this game feels very realistic, but the tone is so wacky and over the top. It's understandable that this is the direction, but this is not what I would have preferred them do. Of course, I would have preferred the more realistic, small-scale direction. Just do kind of the same thing as Dead Rising did, just a little more realistic. And although they got that right in the gameplay, the tone of the story and the characters are a little bit much. And I get it, this is Fortune City. Well, let's put on the biggest show ever because this is it.
Ready? So let's send them a little message. You gotta be willing to risk it all if you're ever really gonna.
Wow, look at that showmanship. I mean, jeez, that guy's corporate as fuck. But anyway, I do recall a very similar intro with Frank West, but in a wrestling ring with a bunch of zombies. Although I much prefer this intro to the other intro, I truly do not feel this belongs in Dead Rising. I mean, maybe like as a mini-game or something, but as the intro, what the hell? And I must say, I do like the money aspect. The money aspect in this game kind of freshened things up a little bit. It's not required, I don't think. I don't think you have to mess with the money part. However, I know it's super beneficial if you increase your money to whatever amount you can. I know you can buy Zombrex with it at some point, and there are other weapons you can buy from the vendors, and it's an interesting element, I'll say that. And I'm not sure it belongs in any other Dead Rising but this, and I'm glad they put it in here. It just works. Well, getting first place wasn't too hard, but those controls were a little odd. I feel like there should be more physics when riding this thing, but it's not a big deal. It really isn't. Certain things don't have to be perfect. When there's so many elements in a game, not everything has to be perfect.
He's a hero. He's a survivor. He's Chuck Greene.
And I believe I could have failed that completely. I don't think I had to pass this mission at all. I think they could have just laughed me off and I go to the locker room and sulk.
I was hoping for a better ride from you, Chuck. But maybe you just don't know how to handle the tight curves.
Oh, fantastic. A couple of sexually aggressive twins.
The carnage is just beginning. So right now, let me hear you make some noise!
Wow, those are some downright atrocious characters. Thank goodness they're not throughout the entire game, although they are present much more than I would like, specifically those twins. They really don't do much for me. Not all of the characters are like that, of course. There are some very, very interesting characters, ones that really stand out as opposed to many other games where people on the sidelines really don't take much precedent. And I'm more than happy to not have too many extras clogging up the story. In my opinion, as someone who's always watched zombie films and consumed everything undead, really at this point, this is all a natural progression of a zombie story. Eventually, people start seeing the zombies as either, entertainment devices or, slaves to a corporation, or even like just plain bags of garbage, when really they're somebody who was alive. And I understand the perspective of someone protesting, so honestly, that's just the natural progression. We even seen that in Land of the Dead. But I do like that part of the story very much with Dead Rising 2. In fact, it really pushes it even further beyond, because there are a couple twists and turns that happen, and it's incredible. The level of storytelling Capcom used to have is just really fascinating to me. I find the most off-putting part of most Dead Rising games to be the characters, such as these twins here, just absolutely bottom of the barrel, atypical fucking eye candy for absolute simps. I cannot get on board that at all. Ugh.
Good night, ladies.
And I'm a huge fan of the idea of Zombrex and being able to pretty much stop the infection from taking over completely. Now, this isn't a bad intro to me. It's not bad at all. It seems like a proper zombie intro. You know, you've kind of got all the elements here, really. It just does not even come close to the first one. In the video I made on the original Dead Rising, really, we got down to the brass tacks and showed the reality that they had something perfect. They had something really just perfectly blended, and unfortunately, each iteration really didn't quench that same appetite that the first one gave. My goodness, the whole narrative was just impressive, and it just worked as a game. Every function seemed to work just fine, and I never really had any trouble. Of course, on the old Xboxes, there was a frame drop, but that's old school news. Dead Rising these days is an incredible experience that deserves to be seen and played by pretty much everyone who likes the genre or has ever liked the genre. Something that always kind of bugged me, I guess it doesn't bug me so much anymore because I understand it, but I always wanted to save everybody in these games, and right when you start playing, all these names start appearing on the screen. Oh, Alice is dead! Gregory's dead! And I really wanted to save everybody. That was just something I felt back in the day. I don't know. I don't feel it so much anymore, and not to be dark, but that's just the reality. In zombie genres and zombie tales, people are going to be eaten alive and cannibalized. But speaking of blood, gore, and guts, man, he's looking pretty rough there. My gosh. Oh my god, no. The worst thing ever just happened. The blood disappeared from Chuck Greene entirely. And that's an unfortunate thing that kind of takes me out of the immersion. Kind of really just, it hinders the entire experience, but that's okay. It's an acceptable little thing that could be buffed out over time, but unfortunately, I don't think it'll ever be buffed out because, well, Dead Rising is dead. It's over. I'm not entirely sure we'll talk about Dead Rising 4 on this channel, but darn, it really just is a sad situation. Whoever was in charge of that whole mess really just mucked up the entire damn franchise, and unfortunately killed it, possibly forever. But this experience right here, I think this is like, dude, scary as hell. No defenses whatsoever. You're just hanging on to your family for just dear life, and just running through crowds of zombies. That's insane. Yeah, this is nuts to me. This is like psychotic.
Hold on tight, Katie.
know, with all these improvements on Dead Rising 2, the combat being one of them, I really don't think it crossed over very well into the next chapters. And when we get to the fourth one, that's an entirely different shit show. I mean, God, mechs and like battle suits and tornado guns? Dude. Yeah, just like Peter J. Fabiano, the guy who directed or produced, whatever you want to call it, Dead Rising 4, those guys are in the same boat, and you know what? I hope there's holes in that boat. Because, frankly, they ruined it. They really ruined it. And I'd love to talk about Dead Rising 3 after this, because people, I don't know what happened. I don't know why people all of a sudden said, oh, it's woke, or, oh, it's SJW. Any game to you people with a fucking woman in it is SJW. The reality is this. Dead Rising 1 really set the bar way too high. I really think they did, and they couldn't capture it in the second one. They just couldn't. And you know, the reality is, they didn't capture it again after that. I think the third one was incredible for its gameplay. The story is kind of disjointed. I don't really understand much of it. It's kind of all over the place. And very wacky, very clowny. I thought we were getting down to the reality, but the incredible beginning cutscene is just, it really sets the bar really fucking high for that game. Either way, folks, the point here is, Dead Rising 1, Dead Rising 2, Dead Rising 3, all incredible experiences that deserve your attention if you're into zombies or, you know, survival horror, I guess. I mean, they're not really survival horror. They're fun, you know, kind of like comedy action games. But really, I mean, it gets dark sometimes. Like, holy shit, the first one especially, holy shit. The second one, medium. If you play the DLC, it gets much darker. Chuck Greene riding around with his dead child, and that's fucking crazy. That's insane. But you know what? I mean, sometimes things gotta get that dark in games, because it's time to wake up and smell that coffee. And sometimes a nice little relaxing journey isn't what it's about. Sometimes it's about the shocks and the twists and the turns. And you know what? I think that's what Dead Rising needs. A return to greatness with twists, turns, extreme blood, violence, gore, all that good stuff. And I mean, yeah, Japanese developers need to create Dead Rising, because the Americanized versions, the fucking people who are in charge of all that, clowns, hipsters pretending to be not fucking boomers. You know what I'm saying? It's just so sad. Oh my god, I hope those guys have new jobs, new lives, McDonald's, you know, whatever. Just please don't ever make video games ever fucking again. Oh man, maybe we should talk about Dead Rising 4 at some point, but either way. Before I start foaming at the mouth, let me just say I want to say thank you to all the subscribers, supporters, even the haters club. You know what? You keep the traction on, well, it's okay there, mister, but if you get out of control, I will shut that shit down, no exceptions. Either way, thank you for stopping by, liking, disliking, subscribing, or becoming a member. Holy smokes, that would be cool. But either way, thank you guys for stopping by and not being a fool.